done. Right, yes, that's right. Thank you.
Hello, Michelle. Jarvis here. Nice to meet you.
In my particular business region in Northern Europe, I think we've calculated need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 29%, or that's 28 million tons of CO2e. So if we're going to reach this kind of collective goal by 2030, what do you believe it's going to take to do that?
If you look at the levels of greenhouse gas emissions in the atmosphere are still going in the wrong direction. There are lots of strong, powerful forces such as population growth, economic growth, that are driving energy demand, energy consumption, and which is currently, in the current way in which energy is produced, still leading to increased greenhouse gas emissions. I think increasingly we're coming to this realization that we can tinker on the edges, we can sort of make small changes to our investments and behaviors, but ultimately it really requires a big change in the way in which our economic system operates. And that really has to start with the allocation of capital through central banking policies as much as taxation, regulation and legislation, as well as the way in which companies decide on where to place their money, what types of products they develop, what kinds of services they produce, and how we then consume them. The tipping point, or the trend change that we really need to see in order to bring these levels of greenhouse gas emissions down to the levels that we need them to be, that's the holy grail. And I don't think it has quite filtered through yet to all parts of society and all companies and all industries. I think we talked about this growing awareness. There is more momentum, more demands from younger generations who really see their future threatened by these latest trends. But I don't think we've quite sort of reached that point where all of the things are clicking together.
There's not a report that you don't read that says that technology is going to help us, improve all the efficiencies and the reductions that we need. Is there a real role for technology, or is it just another contributing factor to sustainability's problems?
I think there's no doubt that companies, CEOs, executives really appreciate the role that digital solutions can play and help them to address these issues. I think the recent report, I think it was Accenture and others who looked at this, asked CEOs how they were planning to, where they were planning to invest, and they said 75% or so suggested they would make significant more investment in digital solutions and technologies, data gathering, data collection, data analysis, big data solutions that would help them address sustainability challenges.
Do you see the consumers actually consuming technology in a different way, or their choices are changing?
Yes, consumers are becoming much more mindful, much more conscious about the way that they're purchasing things, because they can now scan a product, they can be told what's the impact, what's the supply chain, what's the materials, all kinds of variables when they're making a decision. And of course, that's a technology-based asset.
So what we've talked about today, what makes you optimistic that we're going to be able to reverse this?
I think I'm very optimistic because one thing is the awareness. It's getting there, but also this is good business. It's good business to keep employees, but there's also huge business opportunities in it. It's like when you invented the steam train over here, or when the internet came. It brings new business. So it's just for the executives, as I see it, to see those opportunities.
Now, I think what's really important to realize and recognize for companies now is that it's a very competitive, or part of the competitive landscape. Companies have to move. If you're not thinking about starting to thinking about these issues and questions, some competitor will, some startup will most likely going to think about how to address climate change and other sustainability challenges.
Yeah, I do believe that there is enough tipping point. People always talk about a tipping point. I think we're at that tipping point now where it's such a mainstream agenda. We just now need the governments, the big business, the people. And I think it's always good for the individual just to recognise how much impact they can have themselves. Firstly on their own environment and their own family, and then the workplace, and then in the community, and possibly beyond that. Because we have the power to change this, but it's only if individuals step forward and really become the change. So it's a classic Gandhian line, be the change you want to see in the world.
Well, I thank you very much. I think we've had a really good discussion covering the topics from people's attitudes, what they expect from their companies in terms of addressing the issues of sustainability, what companies are doing themselves, and where technology might make a bigger impact going forward. And on behalf of my team and Citrix, the education that you're going to provide us and our customers, thank you very much.